everyone, it's Sharronda from Payorwait, and today we're going to be doing our Lovecraft Country live after show. We are breaking down episode 7, I Am. I really had to say it like that because I wanted y'all to feel like how Hippolyta felt when she was like, I am. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done. All right, let me introduce my co-host for the evening before y'all go ahead and just leave this live from me screaming. First up, we have our favorite older sibling, Shade Thrower. We are welcoming back KB to the chat. Hey, KB.
Hello.
And also, too, after he just basically just dropped us, okay? I'm going to start calling him Rolling Stone because he just wasn't here, okay, for the past couple of weeks. But we have our favorite Christina Stan. Welcome back, Trey, to the after show. Hey, Trey.
I'm back, and I'm happy to be back. And, of course, I've brought all the Christina love for us today. And, you know, we're going to get into it.
Yes. So, yeah, this week's episode, I wasn't expecting all these bombshells, you know, as I thought this was just going to be a Hippolyta-centered episode, even though it was. But, like, man, we had a lot of bombshells. We had our prophesier, our prophet KB with our first prophecy that has come to fruition. We have Letty got a baby. I feel like I was on an episode of Maury, like you are the father, but he don't even know he's the father yet. So, Kay, give me your quick thoughts on how you felt about tonight's episode.
Obviously, I felt good because what have I been saying since day one is we were going to get a baby because this show is about legacy. And who was looking like, oh, child, I feel terrible. And meanwhile, her sister was like, honey, now you know you pregnant. Why you out here playing? Okay. So Queen Ruby also knew. Like, she was like, yes, girl, clearly you're having a baby. I mean, overall, I love this episode. I'll be honest. Time travel is my jam, 1000%. I love everything about it. So I was just like, oh, yes, give me time travel, honey. Let's figure out what's going on here. I have some other thoughts. Oh, thank you. Y'all ain't got to bow down, but y'all just got to be like, you know, you were right that you did say about this baby. I got some other thoughts coming along the way of things that I think may come to fruition as well. But I'll save those. I thought it was a great episode. Hippolyta is the one. This actually is my favorite episode to date, hands down. Period. I thought they did a fantastic job. And I think that there's more than we realize. I think we're getting a lot of different nuggets. And I'll dive into the time travel piece of it a little bit later. But I think the opening scene is actually the future and not the past, like they're trying to lead us to believe.
Okay. Give us some more theories. Also, Talia wanted to let you know that you served the whole look tonight, okay?
Thanks.
I'll probably like, hey, Wid.
Hey.
But before I get to Trey, MCJ says ain't no condoms on this show, and is a hobosexual.
No condoms. That's why you gotta have multiple baby mamas, because there's no contraception being had on this show, and so anything is possible.
But what's a homosexual? No, MCJ, what's a homosexual? Because I'm confused now. Y'all know what a homosexual is?
I think he has hobo-like qualities.
Right.
Let me know. I gotta look up some definitions. I'm calling that.
But his home where he lays is kind of, I think.
Oh, okay.
What it is. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. You know.
No, someone said smashing for roof.
So okay, yeah.
True.
Okay, all right. Trey, give me your thoughts on tonight's episode.
So I really liked it, and that's the thing I like about Lovecraft Countries, because any other time, you know, sometimes because I wouldn't exactly define episodes 6 and 7 as filler, but in other contexts they may, because they do contribute to the whole story as at large, but in the same fact, like they're not entirely like pushing storyline as the other episodes did. And I think that's just a testament to last week we had Jamie Chung, this week we have Aunjanue Ellis with these incredible performances. And I feel like it takes a special show for you to be that captured by all this going on. You don't know how literally nothing about what it has to do with this show, period. But I was stuck with it the entire time. But I would love. I want to know, KB, your thoughts about the You said you think the first scene is in the future?
I do. So I do. So a point of contention that we've had thus far is that we don't know what day it is. Like, we don't know how much time has passed. We don't know anything. So my first red flag was the fact that they were like 3 days ago. I was like, child, we ain't never done this. All 7 episodes, we don't know what day it is. We don't know what timeline is, nothing. But this episode, this is why you put it here. So what we see Hippolyta, she's at this wreckage site and she finds a part of the comet. And she says, ooh, he was here, because she's with Dee. But I don't think that George was there. I think she was. And so I think the building that's burnt down is actually the dome that we see in the end, where she and Tig get sucked into the portal. And then at the end, we see the comic book laying on the ground underneath the police officer. I think something happens with that building. It burns down. And I think that she was actually there, not George.
Girl, you just gave me a headache trying to do all that. Thank you.
I'm trying to keep up with it.
Yes. So I think, like, they're making it seem like 3 days ago, but I really think that, like, the clue that she finds is because she's been there before. So.
Well, now that me and Trey's head hurts trying to think of this new series that Kay has now thrust upon us tonight. Oh, I do want to tell you guys.
I knew this was coming.
I saw my baby daddy today. I talked to my baby daddy, okay? I talked to my baby daddy today. Me and Kay, we interviewed most of the cast for Lovecraft Country today as part of the Africa Roundtable series. And first, I do want to throw Kay under the bus real quick, because Kay actually got to talk to my man before I did, and I continuously sent her several text messages as she was in the room asking her, how does my man look today? Like, prepare me, set me up for what I'm about to experience in this room. And she literally did not tell me. Talking about he looked how he always looked. I need explanations, okay? I need to know everything he's wearing. I felt really let down by you, Kay. I just want you to know that I still love you, but I felt let down.
Okay. I hear you, and let me just say, girl, you're fine. You ended up seeing him. You went into the room and you saw him. Like, you don't want to be thirst trapping, lusting over this man every week. Meanwhile, I just be sitting here like, okay, let's move on to the next segment. Like, yes, he is cute, but I'm not gonna objectify him. And then here you go. See, it wasn't even for Jonathan.
He said you got your hair done for Jonathan today.
No, it wasn't the real tea. But I mean, I'm gonna let y'all have it. But you'll be purely lusting in here, and I just
ain't gonna lie. I was so like, when I tell you that I always pride myself on being professional, like, I had this smile on my face. And I couldn't even.
You look like the Cheshire Cat.
Girl, I had to bite my lip the whole time he was talking, because I was trying so hard not to just be like, baby. Oh my goodness. And then he told me, he was like, oh, sis. I was like, sis, I'm your woman. Don't call me sis. I'm your woman. Calling me sis. Like, we don't go together.
See, this is what was happening. So I was like, girl, you gonna see when you get into this room, because you're finna be lusting after him either way. He could have been fully clothed. I mean, he was fully clothed. Let me say that. He could have been. I know, I'm like, wait. He could have been in a parka, like from head to toe covered, and she still would have been lusting after him. So, I mean, what was I supposed to say?
I'm gonna keep going, because like my mind is wandering off, and it shouldn't be doing that right now. I'm gonna keep it cute today. I'm gonna keep it cute. But I guess we should talk about Letty, and actually no, Trey is here. We don't know when Trey's ever gonna come back again. So let's go ahead and talk about Trey's white queen, Christina.
Okay, yes.
So let's talk about Christina and Ruby, because we actually get a lot of answers with both of their characters. Everyone was trying to say, is William alive? Is Ardell alive? They did. Spoiler alert, they did. And so we see that she finally takes Ruby into the basement, and they have a very interesting conversation with one another. And I want to ask you, Trey, do you feel as though that Christina has true feelings for Ruby, and do you feel as though those feelings are reciprocated by Ruby?
I see, and I was watching. I'm gonna, because this is the first time I've only seen the episode once, so I need to go back and watch it again. And I don't know, like, part of me wants to, but she's so sneaky. She's so sneaky, and you never know. And then also, you know, I have context of the book. You know, I guess in the book, you know, Caleb, aka Christina, you know, changed for the show, is essentially the big bad for the most part of the book. And I'm just like, I'm thinking about, are they going to go in that direction for this? Like, are we supposed to think like this is the end all be all villain? She has all this, or is she going to be more nuanced? I mean, not I guess nuance is the right word, but like, is it not all bad? Because we know at the end of the day, her and Attica they kind of have the same goal, and she has. I guess you can say more the added nuance of her being a woman and not having these ties with the sons of Adam, because she's a woman. So I want to know what's her actual agenda, and you know, she's just like, oh, I mean, all of this was me, and Ruby's just like, girl, but I don't know.
Reggie tells you don't be trying to talk down your wife on the live.
I don't know. I really think that it's interesting though, because I know there was a lot of talk going into this episode, because we knew it was coming, and we knew that it wasn't going to be them like actually having something else, like as her being Christine. Like, now that she knows that this is Christina, how is this going to impact the romance stuff? And Christine's like, I mean, all this was true, and it's interesting. So I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't know. I mean, I'm inclined to think about there's some part of it, even if it's like she's still like manipulating her. I do think that there may be a little bit there. Maybe not like. Maybe one side's not more perfect than the other side, but I do think some part of her is being genuine. I do think that.
Now, Kay, I want to ask you, since you prophesied all of the babies that are coming into life, do you think that Ruby is going to be pregnant? Because we don't know if, when she is William, like, I'm sure he has moisturizing lotion, so can she still impregnate people?
Moisturizing lotion. I can't. You know, I personally do not think that Ruby is pregnant. I will say only because, you know, the interactions with William, like, William is dead and Christina is using kind of his body as a vessel. But you know, dead people don't have live sperm. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, I definitely do not think that is the case. But I will say, I agree with Trey this one time in life, honey, just only this one time. And I do think that there is a teeny, like a morsel, like a smidgen of, you know, of genuine feelings that Christina has for Ruby, like a smidgen. And by smidgen, I mean like truly like the size of my pinky nail, like that much of a genuine affection. I still think that like ultimately she met, you know, Ruby because she wanted to use her. I think some things shifted when she started to kind of understand Ruby a little bit more. I do think that they do have some sort of connection that they both cannot explain. But yes, I do not think she is going to be pregnant. But child, I don't know, honey. She might join Team Christina for a second. I mean, I still think she's gonna get on board with
Christina.
I think she is definitely going to get back to, you know, Letty and get back to the right side of history. But I think it's gonna be Team Christina for a little bit, and this episode kind of shows it because you see her already spying. I'm like, okay, Queen Ruby, what are we doing now? Now you spying?
Well, one thing I was thinking about is because I would be leaning more toward her trying to play her more so if, like, she came on and said that it has to do with your family.
Right.
Like, she did not say she didn't have to say that, but like, I don't know if that was her trying to, you know, sow more trust with her, but she could have just been like, there could have been a different way she could have went about it than just come out and saying, you know, I'm gonna tell you everything. I mean, we also don't know yet.
Thank you. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, we don't know yet what she's told, but Ruby does know at least at the surface level, that has something to do with her family. So she does know that.
Yeah, I was about to say, we don't know how Christina has kind of spun the truth yet. We just know that she gave her a little nugget, a little morsel. And that was enough for Ruby to go ahead and go and spy. So, I mean, I'm like, Queen Ruby, now, come on now. We can't let this white woman get to us. Now, RIP to my boo, William, though. I will say that. RIP now that he is officially dead. Like,
Officially dead.
Was he alive?
I mean, well, I guess my question is, like, do you think Ruby was going with the intent to spy, or the fact that she was really trying to get that tea? Like, girl, is you pregnant? Because we see as Ruby's cooking the food and Letty smells it, and then when she makes that comment, I mean, Letty runs out of the room. So
Ruby was just so nonchalant about it. She was just like, Junior.
I mean, because Ruby already know, girl, we ain't got condoms around here. I know what's happening, honey. So, I mean, a baby is on the way. No, honey, Ruby was definitely spying. She did not care about her being sick or anything like that, because she was listening to that phone call like a child listens to those phone calls around Christmas when they know their parents are going to be spilling the tea on the line to other family members or friends. She had her ear up to that door like, ooh, child, what I'm going to get for Christmas? She was listening like, okay, is Letty going to be honest about the facts that what do they know about magic? Now, we did not see my Queen Ruby report back. So, okay. But she was still fine. Like, I mean, truly.
Okay. Kenny wants to say that R.I.P. William.
R.I.P. Honestly, he was fine. And honestly, I was kind of mad, though. Like, when I found out for sure that he and Christina used to be a thing, I was like, ugh. But I mean, okay. I guess, or whatever.
She nasty. I mean, but she basically had a thing with him. She said she was only trying to seduce him in order to learn magic because her father wouldn't teach her. So,
right.
I mean, again,
using him again, and then she said she fell in love. So it was like, ooh, girl, he got you. But I mean, he fine, so I get it. Like,
now I do want to talk about Montrose, because this is another bombshell. I didn't expect for that to happen in this episode, and so I guess we'll talk about the happier times in Montrose's life before Letty and Atticus popped in. But I do want to ask you both about the dynamics of Sammy and Montrose, because we saw at the end of episode 5, Montrose had literally, stepped full into being comfortable with who he is and who he loves. And so we see that transpired over into him letting Sammy spend the night. Then Sammy decided he was going to cook. But you quickly see Montrose being thrusted back into reality when he thinks that Bernice, his neighbor, saw Sammy coming out of his house or going into the house when he went to go get food from the grocery store to cook for him. And then they get into this argument where Sammy says, every time we get close with one another, you basically try to sabotage the relationship and push me away. And Sammy said, I'm not having it. I'm not doing it no more. So, Trey, what were your thoughts on this interaction between Montrose and Sammy?
I've never seen anyone that disgusted on screen by a meal. He was just like, what is this? I don't eat this. Why are these like, okay, like nothing on that plate is good for you? Like he was just doing a lot for me, but it was expected because, after, he said something about like he went, I can't remember exactly, but he saw the neighbor and then he was like, wait, what? And then from that point on, it was just like, he already had, Montrose, already had like all of this pent up. I mean, it's slowly being let out, but he still has a lot of that, I guess, trauma with not being himself. So it's like I feel like any little thing, such as food, will trigger that. So I felt like, I feel like it's going to be kind of, one of the few episodes left, I feel like it's still a push and pull with him, being comfortable and him not also not being comfortable though, but it's just a lot.
Auntie Nancy did say that the grits were runny though. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I didn't see them, but
it was like some Waffle House grits.
Okay. Y'all not gonna
wait, are you hating on Waffle House?
Y'all not gonna hate on Waffle
House. I'm not hating on Waffle House. I prefer Waffle House.
Okay. Child, you better get into this all-star. I mean,
little blueberry waffle.
Melt.
No, I say Waffle House.
But yeah, Kate, I want you to expound on this because it's almost like he had that moment of freedom, right? And just as quickly as the thought of society, like knowing who he is, he immediately closes back up. And really, I mean, I think they really delves into people who struggle with their sexuality. And especially during this time in the 50s, like that was just, you know, it was unheard of. Especially we forget how much of a stigma that it still is in the Black community, not only, you know, thinking they're in the 50s at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, Montrose is dealing with a lot of toxic masculinity, you know, not just within himself, but again, to Trey's point, he's dealing with the trauma of the toxic masculinity that's been passed down from his father and likely from his grandfather and so on and so forth. And so he's really, really struggling. But Sammy did the right thing. Like, Sammy, what you need to do is leave because you need to value yourself. You need to make sure that Montrose knows your worth. And he needs to be left to his own devices. He needs to be by himself to figure out what it is that he wants out of life, to really kind of, you know, really settle into being comfortable with his sexuality as much as he can. I mean, obviously there are some constraints with the time period. I get it. But he needs to start loving himself. And that's really what it comes down to. Like, there's a lot of self-hatred within Montrose that he is just not allowing himself to be free. And I want that for him. I really, really do. So, I mean, obviously, like, you know, Sammy is like, listen, honey, I've reconciled within myself who I am. I'm proud of who I am. You know, I like myself, and I like myself enough to know that you are abusive in a lot of ways. And it's time for me to move on. Because truly the way I feel like Trey, truly the way he was reacting over those eggs and those.
I was so hateful.
But I'm very grateful.
They have no beef. Okay, sir. First off, you can cook your own meal. Like, we can start there. But
your own groceries, because he bought the groceries too.
Come on. I spent my money and my time, and you're gonna act like this while I allow you to rest and slumber. I know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the toughest part of that entire interaction is when he goes to stop Sammy and he runs into Atticus and Letty, right? And to hear Atticus use that word, it just really hurt me. It hurt me because it continues to show how these feelings or these thoughts, they're taught, right? His dad beat him so he wouldn't be so-called soft, as Atticus would say, you know, and really he's just beating him out of his own self-hate. Like, he hates himself so much that he beats this homophobia into his son as he's growing up. Like, literally the person who you truly are, like, this is who you have taught your son to hate. But more importantly, when he tells Letty that he literally thought that the beatings, the violence, the verbal abuse was his father's way of love, that he truly was almost raised to think that this horrible treatment is like how your parents show you that you love them. And so it really keeps delving deeper into these generational curses and the sins of the father being passed down from generation to generation. I want to get your thoughts on that. But before that, can someone explain to me why Montrose, like, after he called him that, Montrose took his shirt off? I was like, sir, what are you about to do?
Fight, honey. That's what you're ready to fight. Equivalent of a woman taking off her earrings to fight. That's I'm about to light into you because you have lost your mind. Your father, like, you don't know I'm your father. Let me take this shirt off so I can get real serious real quick. That's what it was, in my opinion. You know, like, if it would have been his mama, she would have taken off her earrings. Like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing now. The disrespect. Okay. So Montrose said no. And then also, I do think it's kind of a symbolism of him, you know, being overly male in that moment. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm still a man, you know, I'm still the man. And it's like, sir, relax. But also, my favorite part of that entire scene was when finally Montrose admitted that Dora knew. I was like, please somebody tell this baby that his mom has known the entire time, because he is just thinking all of the worst thoughts. And it's like, honey, your parents had an arrangement.
Literally, I was about to say the same thing. It's like he started going down this saying, like, did this person, like, you've been doing this, when clearly, like, there's probably the reason why you think this man is your daddy is because there was some sort of, like you said, an arrangement. That, I mean, it's been implied that there were extenuating circumstances where they agreed upon why Montrose would be his daddy. And it's just like he don't even know any of that. He's just like, oh, you don't know, like, Atticus, you don't know anything right now. So
the way Trey just put daddy in quotes, his daddy.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Uncle Daddy, however you want to call it. That's why he's your Uncle Daddy. I mean, it was just interesting to me.
But can we talk about how Letty's the real MVP? Because after Montrose asked her, like, why did y'all come? And I know it's supposed to be this emotional scene. I mean, Letty still got all the information that they initially went over there to get. I mean, Nancy like, hey, Atticus, I know you heard right now, but I mean, he said that cousin Ethel got a friend in St. Louis, and we can go ahead and get this information. I mean,
what Letty never does is waste time.
Ever.
We could come back to this. Let's go do this right now.
She said, okay, but also what's the tea? Because we need to know because we have things to do. Thank you.
She's like, well, since you asked, like, let me let you know.
Yeah, she's like, since you asked, why do we come over here? This is why we came over here.
Yeah, how you gonna get mad that they came over? Like, sir, this is still your son. He technically, well, I mean, I guess we just established he's a homosexual, but he don't have a place to live because that's what I was about to say. He don't have a place to live, so technically he lived with you. But I guess
he's been trashed recently. Like,
definitely. But I think also too, he says that to Letty because like he couldn't chase after Sammy because he had to deal with Atticus knowing. So he had to let Sammy leave mad and like done, you know, in order to take care of this whole thing with Atticus and Letty. So I think it's kind of twofold right there.
I mean, but that's not Atticus and Letty's fault that you don't know how to treat your boyfriend or pseudo boyfriend or suitor, whatever we're going to call Sammy at this point. You don't know how to treat Sammy. So that's not the issue. The issue is you need to be better at treating your company.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we see that before all of this transpires with Montrose, we see that Letty has the same dream that. Sorry, hold on real quick. Actually, I'll get to this once we get to that part. We see that Letty has a dream, the same dream that Atticus had in episode 5? I think it was episode 5 where he's running out of the house again. He starts burning. He sees Hannah holding this book. But we see the same thing with Letty. But I think somebody was dreaming about fish because Letty had a baby bump, okay? If y'all don't know, I had to dream about fish. That means somebody in the family pregnant. But Letty has a baby bump. And so then we see later in the episode that she gets nauseous. So we know she got a baby on the way. But why do you think that Letty doesn't tell Atticus about what really happened in the dream?
He ain't got no job.
Trey with a word. Trey with a word. Honestly, that's truly just it. Like,
I mean, well, first off,
he to live. He don't have a job. Like,
he's so trashed right now. Like that, he would probably just start like crying and like he'd just be crying again for the 3rd episode in a row. So she's just like, let me not deal with this right now.
But also, it's the simple fact that, like, one, she hasn't confirmed it yet. So in her mind, she's like, oh, I was pregnant in the dream, but that don't really mean nothing to her yet. Because remember, she doesn't have that conversation with Ruby or get nauseous until much later. So she's just like, oh, I was pregnant in the dream. But Atticus asked the most important question. Hey, girl, why we having the same dream? Hey, boo, it's because of your blood in my belly. Because I have your kid. And that tie, that connection is the reason why we are having the same dream. Because that is the first thing he says. Man, why are we having the same dream? Atticus, now come on. Use this brain of yours, honey. You know why. Secretly. And y'all have a lot of sex.
He would have had that same stupid look on his face. And he would have looked confused. Then he would have started crying. Like I literally have the scene in my body.
Trey is over it. But also, yes, to Trey's point, he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have a home. He's, using sex for rent at this point. And I
mean, Letty said he's keeping the house up.
I think that was, she was being facetious. Like, she meant keeping the house up in terms of keeping her house up.
I mean, he came there anyway to be the security. So that's the reason why he decided to stay. When he said he was going to go back to Florida.
Because I have a question. Have you seen Tig do any cleaning? You haven't, because he's cleaning her. I mean, sure. But the house, no. Like,
can I also talk about how it disrupts my spirit every time I see Letty walk barefoot in that house? I'm like, you're gonna get lead poisoning or something. Like, what is you doing? That house is clean to be walking barefoot.
This is her house. Her name is on the deed. She's like, I will do what I want and I will walk around barefoot if I choose.
It just does something to me every time I see her. But I'm happy that, well, first I thought that they were very disrespectful when they went to Hippolyta and tried to ask her for her car.
And she's sitting in the car.
Like, literally. And I was just like, why would I let y'all raggedy people use my car again after y'all left me and Diana in Boston the last time we all got in the car? Like, why would you? I'm just confused. And we said it's not safe for you. What you're not going to do is try to manipulate me and use reverse psychology. Get up out of my face, go get a job, and buy a car.
I mean, honestly, like the whole scenario, I was like, wow, the audacity of Tick and Letty to just truly roll up and be firm with it. Oh, it's really important. We got to use your car. Where have y'all been? Where have you been since the night?
Did you apologize for Boston? Did you apologize? Because I feel like that should have been a whole scene with her cursing them out about leaving her in Boston with Diana by herself. To do that drive by herself as well. So I just thought that was very disrespectful. But I guess I will say we've been getting on Atticus's whole after show so far. I do appreciate that he was able to read the room and tell Letty after Ruby looked her up and down like she was just below even the dirt beneath her shoe. Okay, that he like, hey, if you need to take care of your family stuff, like let's go ahead and take care of that. So I was happy that he actually could see that she needed to make things right with her sister.
That look that Ruby was serving in the scene when she was in that window, I'm like this. I was like, this needs to be like a Gordon Parks picture, someone taken from her in this window. Like, whew.
Hello, my queen Ruby, definitely unbothered. She was like, I don't care if nobody. I'm here to babysit. Because Hippolyta knows the only person she can trust is me. She did not ask Tick nor Letty to watch D. Do you know why? Because y'all left us at the museum. So no thank you. And Ruby is infinitely more responsible. And then she had on those red shorts and those sunglasses. Mm-hmm. She was living.
Unbothered. Yeah. And Letty was like, where you been staying? And she was just like, you don't need to know.
You don't.
In her mind, she was like, with my white king / queen, but whichever one she decided she wanted to be today. But that's
crazy. Whoever my white king / queen decides.
She may want to transform and using her little because I'm assuming she uses, I don't know, because she used, I'm getting off subject, but since she uses magic, I wondered if she have to use the little potion thing. She just be like Lagarde Leviosa or whatever.
Oh, not the Harry Potter spell. I'm done with you, Trey. I'm not
she said no answer. But before we get up, like, regardless, Ruby was so unbothered, and she was just like, I gotta tell you where I'm at anyway. But even though it would have been interesting to see, like, I mean, there's no way that Lady would have been able to put that together like this soon in advance. But anticipating.
I mean, she did say on the north side. That's all she said. She said, I'm still on the north side. So really, to be honest, Letty should have put 2 and 2 together because they're basically the only Black people on the north side. So it's like, okay, she must be with somebody white. Like, I mean, who else she gonna be with?
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm still tripping off with the Harry Potter spell. I'm sorry, I still haven't been able to get past that. But I do, they keep referencing Emmett Till. So you hear when Letty is beating them in a card game, they're like, I can't win this Bobo come back because, you know, he actually knows how to play cards. So I feel like they're going to have to mention Emmett Till at this point. There's been too many references to him.
Next episode was about Emmett Till.
I think it's going to be because we're coming up on Diana. I think Diana, I'm presuming that Diana's going to be, I didn't see the preview for the next one, but she's going to be the of the next episode.
I didn't see the preview, but based on the title, which I've seen weeks ago, next week's episode is the Emmett Till episode.
I mean, and we've been teased forever of, I mean, more footage of her in the trailer and stuff. So I'm excited to see how they're going to bring all of this together.
But why do y'all keep trusting IMDb like this? Because it lasts short. For like, y'all say Uncle George in every single episode.
I just know the episode has Bobo, and I think it has Bobo in the title.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it does. It does. Like next week is for sure the Emmett Till episode. The week after is for sure the Tulsa episode, and then the finale.
Yeah,
So.
I ain't got it. That's
Well,
got
that kind of got spoiled for us today in our interviews, but yes.
I mean, that didn't get spoiled in my interview. I literally just read the titles of the episode. So like,
he was like delving deep into episode 9. I was like, okay, you didn't answer the episode up.
Yeah, now he did say, "Oh, we're gonna be in Tulsa," but that wasn't a spoiler for me because I already knew they were gonna be in Tulsa. But that's all he said. He did not spoil it. He just said, "Yeah,
I'm not gonna spoil it for y'all," but he says it's a lot happening in that episode. But I do want to,
I said, okay, we'll do it.
I do want to talk about when Atticus actually gets to St. Louis. He ends up looking at a photo album of his cousin Ethel, which there was a super chat question, and I meant to come back to it. That was so off tone. That was just so unnecessary. It won't let me go back to it, but they asked. I don't know what cousin Ethel's friend name was, but I know it was cousin Ethel. But he sees a mark on the lady, and that's when I literally thought that we were going to go the entire episode without me seeing my man's body. But, I guess Misha said, like, Sharronda, I know that you've been trying to do better, so we eased it back a little bit from last week's episode because that really sent you over into hyperdrive, right? So they gave us a little glimpse, right? He goes into the mirror, and I was like, yes, baby, take that shirt off and let me see where that mark is. And then he shows his little back. We got a little back muscle. We got a little shoulder muscle. Okay, looking at the shoulder blades. Okay, looking back here. And then we see his little mark that matches his cousin Ethel. So I just wanted to say thank you, Misha, for giving me a little something. I will admit, I don't think I could have took that much today after actually seeing my husband, my baby daddy, my soulmate, in person today, not in person.
Soulmate.
Right.
So my soulmate.
Okay, this is
my soulmate. Okay. So yes. So what do you guys think that this mark means?
I don't know, to be honest. Like to be honest, for me, though, that the Ethel scenes kind of moved fast for me. And because we had, we were going through the Ruby and Letty and Christina stuff, and then we were going through the Montrose stuff, and then we have this, and not to mention in the back of our minds, we know that we're going to get to the Hippolyta stuff. So that part, it kind of was moving fast. I was like, wait, this is a journey, this episode, but I don't know. Like, I'm interested to see how they're gonna tie all that in together.
I need to go back to an episode because I've never seen that mark on him. As many times that man been naked this entire season, I don't know if I've ever seen that mark. So now I need to watch other episodes to see if it was there before.
I feel like it might represent a mark of protection. Like I feel like it probably some sort of like protection spell that may have come about from Hannah. And so it just covers kind of all of the generations to come. From evil, perhaps. So I don't know. That's what I feel like is probably a mark of.
So they're saying Titus's Braithwaite's bloodline. Candy says, didn't they say something about a birthmark throughout the family? Chad, I don't know. I was so blinded by his body, I probably missed it. Someone else said the mark of Cain. I like these theories though. I don't know. Now I got to go back and pay attention to his body again, which I don't mind doing. I did the research for you guys. I know that that's some stuff that you needed to know. But I did have a question. How did Atticus, after Letty calls and tells him that she sees the orrery in the room, how did Atticus get from St. Louis to Mayfield?
Child, in 5 minutes, in my opinion, in 5 minutes. Like, it was so swift. I was like, what? Huh? Like, he arrived right on time in the nick of danger. Unless we're in some sort of alternate universe when this occurs. I don't know. But let me tell you how I was definitely. No, I'm serious.
No, I'm for real. Because you saw when he came out of the portal, he had a book that said Lovecraft Country by George Freeman in his hands. So he went into the portal, but I don't know what happened. I don't know
what happened.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying everyone has to open their mind to this episode, because I don't think the timelines that they're serving us are actually timelines that we think they are in a traditional sense.
Well, something that I thought about was they turned around they turned around when they got left in Boston. Do y'all follow me? So they turned around the car, and then I was like,
county. So which is when they got there. But I was still confused by that, because I guess but it's like, what happened between them? Where did they go in that point between when they got back in Chicago?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think we're in an alternate timeline. Like, I think that we're
now. So when they went and saw the damage, okay.
I don't think that was them seeing damage from their car ride from Boston back to Chicago. I don't think that's what that was. I don't think that's that leg of the journey. That's what I'm saying. I think we're in an alternate timeline. It's the only way that it makes sense, because, like, how did Tick get there? Which version of Tick is this? We also see when they get to the portal, Tick comes out, but where has he been? Because we don't follow his journey. We just follow Hippolyta's. Like, I feel like they're playing with a lot of different timelines. And I don't necessarily think that the first scene that we see in this episode represents what we think it does.
Okay. I mean, but also too, I was also kind of confused by Atticus' choices. So they threw the cops come in and they threw the cop in the portal. But I was like, y'all better throw this dead cop in the portal. Like, why y'all leave? How you throw one and leaving this one? And then the comic is under her. I need to understand what type of magical paper that Dee uses, right? Because, like, the paper wasn't messed up by the blood. Like, it was literally in a pool of blood. There's, like, the comic just there clear as day. And then the rebel, when she sees Dee's comic, I'm like, girl, so you mean to tell me this whole house, like, blew up, fired, and her comic ain't got no burns? It's looking clear as day. I said, y'all, come on. Like, someone please help me understand.
But also, I mean, y'all do realize that the comic is about Hippolyta, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is her. The orbital girl is her.
No, it is, but still, like, that Trey is like, this too much. I didn't ask for all of this thinking. This is almost 12 o'clock at night. Y'all got me thinking. I had to take my glasses off because my head hurt from all these theories that Kate keeps giving us, changing timelines. I just think that we need to keep an open mind about these timelines. That's all I'm saying. All I'm saying is everything is very intentional in this show. And again, she made a point to tell us, oh, this was 3 days ago. Now, we ain't never seen that before, honey. So that's a red herring, because honestly, you have never told us this throughout the show. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is okay, girl. Like, we're dabbling in time travel now, honey. I get it. Like, we're all over the place. Basically, I just feel like nothing is what it seems. I feel like that's where you should go into the next 3 episodes, being like, nothing is what it seems. Just, if you think you know, you have no idea. That's basically how I feel. I just want to know where Hippolyta is, because
she's living her best. She's living her best, though.
I mean, she was definitely living. I mean, so let's talk about these different places. So she figures how to get into the orrery. And it has a sign, like, it has a key in there where it says every beginning is in time and every limit of extensions is in space. And it has these coordinates, which I assume are the coordinates that led her to Mayfield. Or it could have been the coordinates to,
I think those coordinates, the first one that she sees on the Ori, are the ones that send her to Mayfield. So I think that leads her to Mayfield, because remember, she needs the key, and she needs to use the key in Mayfield in order to unlock the portal.
Yes. Someone asked who's taking care of D. Hippolyta is watching D.
No, Ruby is watching D.
Apparently, they had a house full of kids. Anyway. They had the whole neighborhood over there.
Right. And it was funny. Ruby said that. Ruby said, oh, don't you worry, Hippolyta. I'm going to throw D a party. We just going to have a party. No big deal. Like, ma'am, did you just say you're going to have a party in my house when I said, can you watch my kids, though? Like,
I mean, but she watching her. I mean, she's still in the house. Supervision. I'm just saying. So let's talk about the first place that she ends up. So she is greeted by these robots, and we see this beautiful. Never in my lifetime did I think that I will see a robot that is a Black woman with this beautiful afro. I just want to hold behind the scenes on how they came up with this wig, because it gave me my entire life. So I want to know what your thoughts were about this entire thing where the lady keeps telling her that she's not in prison, and she kind of asks her, like, who do you want to be? Like, where do you want to be? And she is thrust into, she go hang out with Josephine Baker. So, and I do want to let you guys know that since we in St. Louis, okay, that Josephine Baker was actually born in St. Louis. So I thought it was really interesting that Atticus is in St. Louis, and then she ends up, you know, meeting up with Josephine Baker. So I wanted to get your thoughts. And there's also a lot of parallels between Hippolyta and Josephine Baker that I'll get into later. But Kate, what were your thoughts on the whole Paris scene?
So I'm going to start with the Afrofuturism, because my goodness, I never in my lifetime thought I would even see Afrofuturism tackled in this way, let alone on, you know, cable TV, let alone with this beautiful Black woman who basically, in my personal opinion, kind of serves as God in this sense. Like, she represents, you know, God for Hippolyta, and, you know, the expansion of her mind, and really just forcing her to really examine within herself the things that she truly wants and the woman that she wants to be. And she keeps pressing her to choose your name, honey. Like, this is all about your name. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What is your name? You know, and so how do you want to manage it? So at first, the first thing she says when she realizes that she isn't a slave, that she is free, but this is more about her coming into her own and figuring out what it is she wants out of life. She goes to Paris. Now, y'all don't know this, but Paris is my favorite city. And normally I go every year. Obviously, I'm not going this year. Very, very sad. So
Hey, money. Going to Paris.
I'm like, this definitely, poor child, this definitely made me feel some type of way. I was like, oh, Paris, I miss it so much. But in this, you know, reality that she's experiencing, she gets to dance with Josephine Baker. She becomes friends with Josephine Baker. She is living her very lovely Parisian life. I will say, I have to give a shout out to the costuming, because I thought it was spot on. It was gorgeous. The dance sequences, like, everything was just so posh. And just to have, you know, Hippolyta be in the presence of Josephine Baker was extraordinary. And Frida Kahlo, I should say, because Frida Kahlo, and you know, obviously there's a rumor, because I don't know that they ever found out whether or not it was true, but there's a rumor that Josephine and Frida used to be lovers. They met in Paris, and they were lovers in Paris when Frida was trying to escape her ex-husband. And so, yes, I mean, like, I just was like, giving me all the things, give me the history, give me the beauty. There's so much that Hippolyta learns from Josephine in that moment. There is a freedom, and this kind of speaks to the time period as well. There's a freedom that Blacks were able to experience in France, in Paris, and particularly during this sort of Renaissance, that we didn't have that same freedom in the States. And so, you know,
Hippolyta went to Paris. Yeah,
exactly. And so Hippolyta, you know, gets to finally kind of experience just a smidgen, you know, even for a moment, because honestly, we don't know how long she's there. We literally have no concept of time. We know she's there longer than she anticipated. Like, we know it's longer than a couple weeks, because when she first gets there, she's a terrible dancer. And then by the end, you know, she's definitely in the chorus line living with her girls. Yes. So, yeah, like it just gave me so many wonderful feelings to be able to see on screen. Never in my lifetime would I think that this type of art would exist, but whew.
Yeah. Bernice wants to know, where's the application to become your friend?
Hey girl, let's be friends.
And also too, I do agree with Zia. They did cast a really great, I lost Zia's comment. They did cast a really great Josephine Baker. But one of the most pivotal moments into the whole interaction with Hippolyta being in Paris is when she tells Josephine that she tells her that she became the exact type of Negro woman that white folks wanted her to be, to the point where they found a way to lynch her without even using a noose. noose, and she hates the fact that she allowed white people to make her feel small. And I related to that in just so many ways. Just from being in corporate America and feeling that you have to dress a certain way, you have to talk a certain way, you can't get angry, you can't be too vocal in meetings because they're going to say you're the angry Black woman instead of you trying to like, no, I'm just doing my job and I need to be vocal so we can do things the right way. And so, Trey, I wanted to get your reaction to this moment when she's having this discussion with Josephine.
Yeah, I especially hate using this word now because I feel like it's kind of been commodified now. But it was so timely that this dialogue took place and this episode is airing at a time where we're thinking so much about how we have to conform to society, not society, well, white society's standards, and the fact that we don't even realize when like literal parts of our identity are just like steadily getting chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And it took her like literally leaving the country and immersed in something that was totally different for her to realize, because we all think about like how injustice and discrimination is, so they like are pervade onto our lives, but you don't really realize how much it is to you like outside of these situations. And I think that was a soup, the dialogue, and I can't remember who wrote this episode, but
it was Shannon. It was Shannon.
Oh, yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah. Shannon, you wrote the hell out of this dialogue. Like, so good. And I just loved it. I really did. And I need to look at the actress who played Josephine Baker, because at first I thought it was Ruth Negga, but then I realized it wasn't. But shout out to her.
She was great. I mean,
you thought it was Ruth?
For a split second, like before they were just introduced, I was like, wait. I think it was the hair.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I want to ask you specifically, how did you feel when we see Hippolyta, but we see Hippolyta the warrior, right? As she's thrusted into her next dimension of time. What were your thoughts on that?
So, just one thing I'm going to mention that ties into when she moves on to being the warrior. There is a point where Josephine tells her that she feels like a star, and not until, she's like, oh, Hippolyta's like, no, you are a star. And Josephine says, no, I feel like a star in the black of space that's already been extinguished. And when she said that, I thought, ooh, that is so powerful. Like, it is so deep. Oh, Kara. Okay.
Oh, I've heard of her.
Okay. Shout out to Kara Patterson. But I truly was like, dang, that is so deep. And you could tell that Hippolyta absorbed that. And something shifted in her. She was ready to move kind of to this next dimension. And she didn't know what it was going to hold, right? But she was ready to move into it once she realized, like, no, like, I am the star. Like, you're right. I am not of this world, and the world doesn't deserve me, and I can do whatever it is that I want to do. So when she moves into the warrior scene, and, at first she's kind of there just trying to really like earn her stripes. Like, that's the first scene. Like, she's battling another warrior so that she can be like crowns the winner and crowns kind of the warrior queen. But baby, I mean, the costuming, Jesus, when they're on the battlefield and they're killing the Confederate soldiers, and just like the symbolism in that, and just watching as a Black American, like just seeing, ooh, child, the Civil War was a mess, and just being able to kind of see this imagery of just these Confederate soldiers just going down one by one. I mean, never again, I have said this 100 times, but because I love sci-fi, because I love time travel, because I love that this was all rooted in, actual history, not just, fictitious elements. I'm like, oh my gosh, like everything about this episode, I just never would have imagined. It just meant so much to be able to watch it. And sorry. What is it?
I didn't mean to throw you off, girl.
Oh, okay, sorry. Then in my eyes, like I automatically have to read it. But okay, so Our Mothers, so not Amazons, because I don't think I called them Amazons. I think I just said warriors, but they're not.
Never saying before, but can you speak to even the language that she uses? I guess the general before Hippolyta dethrones her, about how how these white men or white people have taught Black women that you're only here to take care of their kids or to clean or to cook, to be servants to them.
Tears. I mean, because that's something that we learned very early on. It's something that I learned very early on. Just kind of how white men specifically view us as Black women. And I grew up in the South. My family both sides of my family are from the South. And so I used to go to work with my grandmother when she used to go to the white people's houses to either clean or, she used to go to their houses to take care of them because they were ill, and she would make sure that they had food and they did things like that. And I remember being very young. I was a very mouthy little kid. Because I was just because I was very curious, and I always used to be like, why are we over here with these white people, honey? Like, why are we cleaning these white people? Why are we taking care of them? Like, what is this scenario that we're living in? And, she would explain kind of her version and her reality and explain how her life was and how hard it was for her growing up. But like seeing that and just kind of experiencing, to Trey's point, what we're experiencing to this day and realizing that nothing has really changed. Like ultimately, Hippolyta travels through space and time. White people are still the same in every space and time period. Like essentially all of the issues that we're experiencing now and that Hippolyta experiences, even traveling around the world, are the same. And that was like so many tears because it's heartbreaking. Like on one hand, but there's so much power that Hippolyta gains back in that moment that is refreshing and amazing to see. Like, it's just so many things, like so many emotions. This episode, this is why it's my favorite.
I think the moment that truly hit me is when Hippolyta says that, I am Hippolyta, I'm George Freeman's wife. And we see that she goes to talk to George. And she has a very serious conversation. At first, it's, she's mourning the loss of her husband and she's happy to be reunited with him. But then after she tells him all of her adventures and the journeys that she's been able to experience, that she realizes that as a woman that she felt stifled, or she felt like she was shrunk to be a nothing more than a wife and a mother in order to help catapult George into what he was doing with his business. And that really stuck with me because of where we see them in the beginning of the season, when she's telling him how she wants to go on this adventure and he kind of just dismisses her and says, well, I need you to be safe. But I think as Black women, we have so many titles, right? And we have to be so strong. We are mother, we are wife, that always that saying, behind every man is a good woman, but we never get to talk about, like, Hippolyta was a businesswoman. She ran her husband's business. She was an astrologer. She's a smart woman. She's named comets. She's done all these amazing things. And it really sucks that it took the death of her husband for her to truly, fully realize and experience her full potential of what she has to offer in this world. And it's unfortunate that now she is just starting her life and just now understanding who Hippolyta really is. And I think that's what really, so what are you about to say?
Go. Finish your
I just think that just really hit me, even though it rubbed me the wrong way, like it rubbed her the wrong way when George was like, after all of that, you still chose to say that you're my wife. And I was just like, sir, did the point go over your head? Did you miss what she had to say? But Kay, you were about to say something. What were you about to say?
I was about to say that I think that just really speaks to the many facets of women. And so like Hippolyta goes on this journey and it's just pieces of herself. I mean, that's really what in every facet of every woman, there's so many different pieces. There's so many different layers. There's so many different things. So like, yes, Hippolyta is a warrior. Yes, she is a queen who could do what she wants. So she's a performer. Yes, she is an astrologer. Like, yes, she is all of these things. But when it comes down to it, like, we are often really battling that struggle in that fine line of losing ourselves when we have our partners or when we have our families. Like, a lot of times women don't know how to be anything other than mothers, right? Like, once they focus on their kids, and then it's really hard for them to juggle their career. It's really hard for them to juggle anything else. And so I really
society says that. Society
right.
Like, women take care of their children. Like, that's not a one person role.
No, it's not. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying we still carry that burden on ourselves. Like, a lot of times, because of what society has said about us and what we can do, we still carry that. And that's what you see with Hippolyta, because Hippolyta knows in her mind that she can do anything and she can do everything, but yet she really still got lost in her family. It wasn't because she didn't know that she had all of these great options. She does. Like, I mean, this is her. She can do any and everything. But I think it's just one of those things where, like, life happens and you end up kind of losing pieces of yourself. And it isn't until her husband dies, because, it creates kind of this opportunity for her to look within herself to figure out what she wants to do next, right? Because Hippolyta, you can tell she's not really concerned with anything other than trying to figure out, okay, well, who do I want to be? Where do I want to go? What are the things that I was passionate about before I met George? Like, what are the things that are really important to me? And so, just through this episode, it's really great to be able to see that. And so it's interesting because today, when I talked to Ingenue, I called Hippolyta like Lovecraft Country's ace in the hole. And she was like, ooh, I really like that. And I was like, but she is, because she's brilliant, but she's underutilized, right? Like, there's so many different facets to Hippolyta. And she truly, in my opinion, is the key. That's why I think she found the key, is because she's the key to a lot more that she can unlock. But, the only person who truly sees her and understands her is Dee. And I think that's why she wrote this comic book that's actually about her mom.
Nicole says the way the show is able to tackle many different genres so effortlessly makes the hair on my arm stand up. Yeah, no, it's truly amazing to see, just like all these things that just, everything is just so relatable. It almost like hurts that we're still going through the same struggles as what a Black woman would be going through in the late 50s, right? But I do want to get, we have one more super chat. Marvin, Montrose got beat, but still talks to Tick that way. I mean, ain't that what parents do?
I mean, like, low-key Montrose, he kind of let him beat him that last time. Low-key.
Yeah, Montrose always talks out the side of his neck, though. I mean, to be honest, like, Montrose will continuously talk out the side of his neck, though. Like, no matter what.
Who beat you this time?
Right.
But I do want to ask you, Trey, how did you feel about when we actually get to see Dee's comic come to fruition? And we see that her and George travel to space, and we see another instance of the Afro. Am I saying it right? The Afrofuturism. Yeah. Did I miss that? Okay, I'll make it. I know I'm like sleep deprived, so I apologize. But I wanted to get your thoughts because they play a voiceover from Sun Ra, who was like a jazz musician. He was talking a lot about the cosmos, and I think it's interesting how he says, that we don't exist in this society, because if we did, we wouldn't be still seeking equal rights as Black people. And I wanted to get your thought process on the whole seeing Dee's comic come to life with her and George together, and also too with Hippolyta making the decision that she makes a choice to still go back, even though she realizes the possibilities of who she could be if she chose to stay.
Yeah, and I think that it was there are a lot of parallels going on between all of these universes that she visits and what's going on, but more so about the audio that was playing, and then the fact that they're like kind of the first humans in this new world, and all of that imagery there. I really think that she could have easily said, I'm gonna stay here. I don't know what they do about all this magic, what they're trying to hide from me. But she knew that, and Dee's literally the one who is the one that she only has riding for her. And I really feel like she made that decision, keeping her in mind and knowing that like they have each other. And I wanted to go back because I saw a few comments talking about this. Reminded me a lot of the Afrofuturism, how like a lot of people thought that in the white space-ish room scenes that the woman looked like Garnet from Steven Universe. I'm not too familiar with Steven Universe, but that reminded me of that too. And I feel like it's so cool how this show just made so much movement for Afrofuturism in just this one episode that we haven't seen. Like I think you said it's for KB, like on on television period, cable television. Like this is stuff that we don't see this in any facet of film and TV, and there's so much that Lovecraft Country just did within the span of this one episode, and for that they deserve their things for this. But I think that that the space part was a true full circle moment from her realizing what she wanted when she first met Josephine Baker in Paris, and then coming through to the warrior scenes, and now that it was really a full circle moment.
Two River Power says, love Afro Queen forcing her to move beyond place boundaries. You are not in prison. And the alien goddess's name is Beyond Sis. Kay, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, for me, there's so many things that Hippolyta picks up on this journey. I think it makes sense for her to go back. Like, in my mind, watching this episode, I always knew she would go back, and only because of Dee. Like, we know that she has this incredible bond with her daughter. We also know that she feels like Dee is the only person who can see her. And I mean, honestly, like, her and Dee are ride or die. So, like, it makes sense that she would want to go back to the timeline to be with her daughter and protect her in a lot of ways. But also, give her even more of an example, because she's already such a great example as a mother to Dee. But she wants to go back so that Dee has an opportunity to see more examples of strong Black women. She wants to kind of change the way, like, people perceive her, not only her, but Black women in general. I feel like it's kind of like the mission that she's on now. Like, no, we can do everything. We can do anything. And I want my daughter to be able to grow up in a time where she can see that. And she can have, that understanding that, like, she can do anything that she needs to do, or that she wants to do, rather. So, yeah, like, I just think that it makes sense that she's going to go back. But I will say, however she comes out of the portal, obviously she will be forever changed. But I am curious to see kind of how her time in the portal and time in the multiverse is what I'm just going to say she was in. How her time in the multiverse parallels Tick's time, because we don't know kind of what he's experiencing either. So I'm curious to see what the parallels will be between both of their times, and when they come out, what that leads to. Because one thing is for sure is that, Tick went to the future in a sense because he came back with that book, right? We know has not written a book called Lovecraft Country. Yeah. So he went to some form of the future. So we do know that. So I'm curious to kind of see how those parallel. I definitely think that the George that we saw is an alternate George. I mean, I don't think it's the George that we know, right? Because the George we know is dead in this particular timeline. But I don't know, what that means moving forward. But I'm curious to see where we go, because honestly, these episodes really, like, they need to stop playing with me. Like, everybody knows I love Married at First Sight. And this season is 2 hours. Okay, y'all could have made Lovecraft Country 2 hours too, or at least 1 hour and 15. Like, y'all could have gave me a little extra so that I just know what's happening. Because now I'm starting to feel like 10 episodes not going to be enough to wrap all of the
right.
things.
I'm thinking, like, how are we going to put this all together?
How are we going to put a bow on this, honey? Because
it's going to be a cliffhanger.
Yeah, or something, because it really just doesn't feel like we only have, and realistically, I'm going to say 3 hours, but we know it's less because we know they're not full hour episodes. So, like, we got 3 hours to wrap this up. My mind is in 37 different places. So how are we going to wrap this up?
So we'll give 5 minutes for anyone who wants to ask questions. Drop your questions in the comment box.
Yes. I want to answer some questions.
Give us questions.
I don't think it's going to be a second season, y'all.
I don't either. But, child, you know what?
I think them. I mean, I don't know.
I think it will be a different story altogether if they do.
If I'm not mistaken, Misha Green has said that, and it's hinted at it being in interviews, that it would be like a different story.
Okay. And that makes sense. I would be okay with a different story, a different family, a different everything. Like, give me more, but in a different context and a different time period too. Like, we don't have to be in the 1950s, honey. We can go somewhere else.
But still bring me Jonathan Majors, okay? Don't change the cast. Thanks.
Oh my goodness.
Or it could be one of those. Or it could be one of those where they utilize all the same actors but have them playing totally different characters.
Yes, I did catch the Bessie Stringfield scene when she's on the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
Passes by Hippolyta and Hippolyta waves, and I was like, "Come on."
Yes, haunting of your house, haunting of Bly Manor situation. That's what I think they should do.
Well, I don't know that, y'all know, so I don't know what that means.
No, and the fact that both the second season of Hill House or Haunting of whatever has most of the same principal actors, but they're in different roles,
right?
Completely different stories. I think they should do that. I would love that.
Carlos says, so the tick throwing the cop through the portal result in any changes? I don't know. I think there are changes. I think there's changes from Hippolyta, the fact that we have a book by George, that means George is alive in another timeline. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Child, Hippolyta though, y'all, Hippolyta up here messing up timelines like Barry Allen. I mean, like, she out here just doing what she want, and then people
all of them
get mad, like, because Barry just do what he want, and the new Barry Allen is Hippolyta out here just woo. And probably Tick too, honey, because we don't know what he been doing. He probably messed it up too.
Just like as well. The Killer Key says you think they're going to go to Tulsa to get the book. I do. I don't think that would happen until episode 9, though. 9. I think 9 is when they go to Tulsa.
It is. But I think having the book by default will change a lot of things. I think by having the book, they will change the course of history. I mean, I think that's the point. If you're going to get the book, we might as well go all the way.
People are saying that Letty and Tick are related. I believe that. I've been saying that.
I mean, it's too late now.
I don't know if they're related. I think that Letty
has
bigger significance to the greater story at hand other than her just being there. Yeah, I think there's a reason why. I think there's a bigger tie-in of Letty because we don't know who her father is. Is her father somehow connected to the sons? I mean, they may not be they may be distantly related or something.
I mean, honey, we know that she's the mother of his child, one of the mothers at least. So I mean, that's a big tie-in too.
Auntie Nancy says it's Tick lock Hippolyta in the portal. I'm gonna say no because she's not a prisoner. She can do whatever she wants to do. And that was the whole thing that she told her at the end was we just needed to make sure you were okay to use the power. And they were like, she Gucci now. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Somebody said maybe that's why she was burned when she was pregnant.
Who? Hannah?
Letty in the scene. And maybe because it's an incest baby.
Stop! I need to go. I need to go. Not maybe because it's an incest baby.
That's an interesting theory. I mean, I don't know this about that. Might be an interesting theory.
Not it's an incest baby. Y'all just have to go.
I do believe that both of their parents could have been members of the Sons of Adam.
Yeah. I think that is more than reasonable. I don't think they're related though. I don't.
I think at the very least, both of their parents could have been members of the Sons of Adam, though.
I just think that this baby holds the key to a lot of things.
MCJ said, I'm not doing incest with y'all in this show.
Child, it's better. Anything is better than incest. Anything is better than that because those twins were sending me. So, I mean, we don't have to thank God. And Game of Thrones?
Oh, I forgot. My bad. Hannah is his great-grandmother. Is it his great-grandmother? Yeah, it's his great-grandmother. Or grandmother.
I think it's one more generation, but I think it's great-great.
Great-great? Or sure.
Great.
But she's that's real. I do want to know what these cow baby aliens are.
Child, they have just left those on the table. They said, listen, and really, I wouldn't even call it a cow baby. I feel like she just inseminated the cow with an alien and then puts the cow to birth.
She's just a surrogate.
Yeah.
Okay.
We don't know when the round table interview is going to come out because we don't have the audio. And they're not going to be video. Let me just tell y'all now. We didn't know, but they're going to be audio only. So you guys will not get to see how beautiful my man, how he looks today. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely just listen to our audio. I mean, that's all I got. Just listen to it. Yes.
Drumming in my place now.
Are there more questions?
I think we're good on questions. So thank you everyone for joining our Lovecraft after show today about episode 7. We will be back next week. We don't know if Trey is going to disappear on us again or not. So I don't know when Trey will be coming back. But hopefully he won't be a rolling stone like last time. But yeah, so I want to thank you again, Trey and KB, for joining the Lovecraft After Show discussion this evening. Can Trey tell us where we can find you on social?
Oh, yes. At Trey Mangum. On Twitter, Instagram, although Instagram has a dot in between the Trey and the Mangum. But it's also right here. So, yeah. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram.
And KB?
You can find me Instagram and Twitter at the lady, TheLady KAYB, not KB, as Sharronda likes to do all the time on accident. It's KAYB. So you can.
Oh, what I be saying?
Yeah, you be putting the lady KB, but it's KAYB. The lady KAYB. So yes, on social. And then it's okay. Subscribe to my YouTube channel through the lens of Lady KB, because that's where y'all gonna get this audio from this roundtable. Sharronda and I were not in the same roundtable, so we have different questions, different responses. They did not pair us together. I did ask because we were trying to give y'all some real, but it didn't happen. That's okay. You still gonna get the real. Just have to subscribe to both of our channels to do it. Yay!
And yes, I did see the GQ spread from Jonathan Majors and his top 10 things you can't live without. And please do not send a supercut of me thirsting after him. Don't do that video. Please don't. But yeah, there was some comments in the chat. I had to make sure that I answered that before they get me caught up. But I hope everyone has a great week. Protect your peace. Protect your energy like Sammy was in this episode. We all need to be like Sammy and just stand up for ourselves and know our worth and know that we deserve the world like Hippolyta got in tonight's episode. So I hope everyone has a great week, and I love you guys 3000, and I will see you guys soon. And until I see you again, bye everyone.
Bye.